let's add some text wrapping around a graphic. Let's go up to our links panel, and if you click on the name, this will automatically sort all of your graphics by the name that are in here. If you can't see them easily, you can click on the little bar and drag down, and this will show multiple ones automatically inside their area. Let's find the Bleeding Heart Photoshop document. So I need to scroll up, and there it is selected here. You can see that it's on page 1. If I click on the 1 over here, it'll automatically jump to where that image is. I can do the Command and plus sign and zoom into it. Now it's got the actual image selected, and I want to select the frame. So I'm going to press the Escape key, and that'll back out to where the frame is now selected. With that done, let's make a copy of it by going to Edit and Copy. Let's jump to page 3, so I'll jump down here. There's page 3 here. And we want to paste it right here in front of the word Carnation. So let's go to Edit and Paste. This will, of course, place it inside the center of our frame. I'm going to kind of scooch over, and let's just drag it till it's off the edge right here. To make both my image and the image frame bigger at the same time, I'm going to hold down the Shift and the Command key, and I'm going to click on the very bottom right-hand corner and drag up, and you can see that it will automatically resize both of these. I want to drag up until the value becomes about 175%. I'm looking at the very top corner of my page. There it is right there. That looks pretty good. I'm going to do Command and the minus sign to zoom out. Now notice when I do this, obviously the picture is covering up my text, and I want the text to flow around this picture. So in order to do this, let's open our Text Wrap panel. I'm going to go to Window and down to Text Wrap. This gives us the ability to control all of the wrapping that the text can do around the picture. Now if you click on the first image, this will automatically adjust the text to flow around the picture box, which will be nice and squared off, and sometimes that's what you want. However, since I've got kind of an odd shape going around this one, let's take advantage of that particular shape. We're going to choose the second option, and it automatically recognizes the edges of the outline area that I've got. Now, if any tooltips tend to pop up, you can simply say OK and break those away. We still have some funkiness going on with the text. It's flowing in some of these breaking spaces, and it's actually getting a little bit too close to my image. To push everything away, we need to change the outset number, and that's this number here. So we're going to increase this outset number to be 0.125, and we're going to have it wrap instead of on both edges, just to the right side, and the type, we're going to tell it to detect the edges, and that looks good for there. Now notice that we get a little bounding box going around it, and the text flows nicely to be able to fit. We still have some kind of funkiness going on. So let's choose our selection tool and click on our image and just move it around until everything fits nicely without having any trapped text inside of the area. We can now close out our text wrap dialog box, and I'm going to do Command 0 to zoom out. In order to call out this bottom portion, let's cut out a rectangle from the background so that we can see this a little bit easier. To cut out a rectangle, we're going to take advantage of our Pathfinder. First, choose your rectangle tool, and let's draw a rectangle inside of this bottom portion that fits from this top to the very bottom right-hand side. You can see by default that it's automatically just a gray square that's selected. That's okay, whatever color that it is. With the rectangle still selected, let's choose our selection tool. We can go up to our layers panel and let's unlock the background. Then we can hold down the Shift key and select that green background rectangle. So now I've got both the green background and the gray rectangle that we have selected. To cut away the gray, let's go up to our window and let's open up our Pathfinder panel. That's found under our Object and Layout. There it is, Pathfinder. We're going to choose Subtract, which is the second option under Pathfinder. And you can see how it automatically cuts away whatever's in front from the back. Let's lock down our background layer one more time and we can close out our Pathfinder panel. Another way you can cut out things is by creating compound paths. I'm going to zoom out just a bit. Let's go up to this back page so that we can see both the little flower and purple area. With our selection tool, select the purple spiked object, hold down Shift, and also select the flower that's behind it so that both of those are selected. To make a compound path, we can go up to Object, down to Paths, and choose Make Compound Path. You can see now what it's done is taken the top path and automatically combined it with the background to cut it out and join it. You can move it around if necessary to see it. Now, since we're working with vector graphics, it's also easy enough to change these. I'm going to zoom in just a bit more to this graphic. Remember, if you use your direct selection tool, this is the white arrow, you can click once or deselect an area. Then you can click on any of the objects or the points to have them selected. You can move them up and down to resize them or replace them. And so this will add a little bit more variety to our little points that we have. And if you wanted to spend the time to round off this area, you can use your Convert Anchor or Direction tool to click on any of these anchor points and drag out, and it will automatically turn them into curved areas. Swapping back and forth between this one by holding down the A key will temporarily give you your direct selection tool to select those. Take some time and go around the entire area to round off and add some variety to this. But once you're finished, we can zoom out to see the whole thing, and we can go to File and save what we're working on too. Let's zoom back out. Let's go over to the third page down here at the very bottom. And let's add some graphics down here along this bottom edge. To create a frame tool, let's choose our rectangle frame. And I'm going to click and drag until the height of it, holding down the Shift key, hold down the Shift key and create a perfect square until the height of it is about 0.625. And if it's off by a little bit, that's okay. We'll say right about here. With it still selected, let's go up to File and Place, and let's locate the Be on Flower Photoshop document. We'll say inside of here. Notice that this content is way too big to be able to fit inside of this area. So to get it to fit, first we want to center it up. Let's go to our Object, down to Fitting, and let's center the content inside of here. Now that it's centered inside of it, let's choose our options up here at the top. With both of those linked together, we'll set this to be our center reference point. There we go. And now let's scale it down to be about 50%. When I hit Tab, you can see how it automatically scales down to be inside of there as well too, and it's scaling from the center point. Now with the picture still selected, you may have to hit the Escape key and make sure the frame is now selected. We want to convert this square frame into a nice circle. With the frame selected, go to Object, down to Convert Shape, and here's where we can convert it to an ellipse. Now that that square is turned into a circle that has a diameter of 6.25 for the width and the height. I'm going to zoom out just a bit and let's make a copy of it going all the way across. With it still selected, we'll go up to Edit, and let's do a Step and Repeat. Step and Repeat gives us the ability to copy multiple of these across, and so we want to do a copy of them, 10 of them, with a horizontal offset of 0.75 and a vertical offset of 0. And you can see how it copies all the way across from here. If you've got Preview turned on, that's where you can see it. With that done, we'll say OK. Now, if I think that they're a little bit too close together, or if I think there's simply too many of them, I can easily delete away a couple of them. So I'm just going to randomly choose this one and delete it, Let's get rid of this one and delete it. I still like the placement of everything. I simply want them to be redistributed. So I'm going to click and drag and reselect all the ones that we have. To realign and distribute, let's open up our alignment panel by going to Window, Objects and Layout, and open up Align. Alignment also gives you the ability to distribute objects evenly. Let's click on this second one from the right to automatically distribute those and place those perfectly there. We can close out our alignment panel. Lastly, if you ever want to check the properties of anything that you've selected, we can open the Properties panel by going to Window, choose Properties, and you can find the properties of all of these over to the side as well, in addition to the alignment and distribution. If you scroll down to the very bottom, you can also see a variety of different quick actions, including arranging, grouping, and even here's converting shape, where we can convert it back to a rectangle if necessary. From here, let's go up to File and save what we're working on. I want to press Command 0 and zoom out. Let's go back up to this top portion and zoom in this issue. I'll close out my layers and even close down my Properties panel for now so I can see it. There we go. We want to round off the corners of the blue background. So select the blue background. Let's go to our Layers panel and let's unlock the text layer. Now I can click on the blue panel and have it selected. In order to easily round the corners, locate the yellow button at the very top right-hand corner of this object. When you click on it, there we go. When you click on it, notice some little diamonds appear at the corners. If you click and drag to the right, you can see how it automatically rounds off all the corners on your document. Let's click and drag until it reaches a size of 0.2. If yours is off by a little bit, that's okay. Additionally, if you hold down the Shift key, you can click on any individual corner and just drag and round off only that corner. Finally, if you want to be able to control some more effects from this, you can go to Object, down to Corner Options, and with Preview turned on, you can change the styling of your different corners to have fancy corners, or more of a beveled or an inset style. I'm going to choose inverse rounded because I like the look of that one. We'll say OK. Now if we needed to rotate an image, remember we did this on the back bottom for this one here. There we go. We want to be able to rotate this upside down. If you select any picture frame and you hover just outside the corners, you'll notice you get a rounded arrow. This allows you to click and drag and free rotate wherever you want. Now, if you want to precisely rotate something, you can do this from your Properties panel by clicking and opening it up. If you scroll to the very top of it and click on the More options under the Transform panel, here's where you can dial in a precise measurement for the amount of the rotation. From here, make sure the center point reference point is selected, and let's rotate it 180 degrees. That'll rotate it automatically upside down. I'm going to nudge this a little bit closer using my arrow keys. There we go, until it's closer to there. If necessary, you can also rotate images inside of a frame. Let's do the same thing for this calla lily. To get the content inside of a frame, make sure you click on the content grabber of that frame, not just the frame itself. Very carefully, you'll notice that there's a bounding box outside of, zoomed in too much, and zoom back in. There's a content on the outside of our frame. With it selected, you can click on the outside of it and rotate it until it's going to be about 30 degrees. And it's pointing straight up and down from here. Again, we can choose our content grabber and move it over. Then we can scale this up by clicking on the edge and holding the Shift key until it fits the content of our screen. I'm going to use my arrows to nudge it down until it's nice and filled up inside of our screen. Since we're talking about alignment, let's align a couple of more options. We'll zoom back out. Let's go to page 2. Right down here. We want to be able to align these two objects to be centered onto our page. So with our selection tool, select the graphic and hold down the Shift key and select the text that's underneath it as well. Let's open up our alignment panel. So let's go to Window, back down to Objects and Layout, and choose Align. This will give us our full controls. With this selected, since we want to align both of these objects to the page, choose Align To and make sure Page is selected. Now when we align the objects to the center, this horizontally, this will automatically align everything to the page itself. Let's deselect it by going to Edit and Deselect All. If you want to align multiple objects to other objects, we can do that down here. I'm going to zoom out and have all of these. We want to be able to have all of these little icons aligned nicely with the tomato icon. First, I'm going to make sure my text layer is locked down because all of these are on the graphics. Using my selection tool, I'm going to click and drag over all 9 of these to make sure all 9 of those are selected and nothing else. Next, click one more time on the tomato, and you can see that it highlights the tomato. This tomato is now known as the key object. And if you go to your line panel, you can see that key object is now selected. With that done, we want to align everything nice into the right-hand side. That automatically pulls everything over. I can now click away and deselect it. I notice that these 2 icons are a little bit smaller than the rest of them, so let's go ahead and scale those up. With everything deselected, I'm going to click and drag over both of them, hold down the Shift and the Command keys, and drag till both are scaled to be the same height. Now, of course, we want these to be the exact same spacing as everything else. So clicking on the tomato, I'm going to drag down, and you can see some little helper guides, some little arrows appear between each one of those. I want to make sure they're both evenly spaced. Let's choose the little bucket tool, and I can click and drag up until my little smart guides, helper guides, also come up to make sure those are evenly spaced as well too. I'm going to close out my alignment panel, and I'm also going to close out my properties and layers just so I can see everything. Let's zoom back out. Let's make a quick copy of each one of these by holding down the Option key while we click and drag a copy of them above our working area. So there's our little plant, and there's our little sun up here. Using the techniques that we've done before, let's align these and evenly distribute them across this top. I'm going to click and drag over each one of those. To quickly align it, let's open up our Properties panel. Let's make sure Align is to Selection this time, and let's align them centered. And let's make sure to evenly distribute them centered as well too. So now that they're evenly distributed across that area. Now while we're here, let's deselect everything and select this first trowel icon. We want to be able to scale and rotate each one of these. But let's do it to the first one first. So with the trowel selected, we can go over to our Transform part of our Properties panel. Let's scale it up by 125%, making sure both are linked. Then we can rotate it by 30 degrees. If we wanted to do the same thing to each of the other 4, let's select all 4 of them together. We can then go to Object, Transform again, but let's transform them in sequence individually. You can see all of them are done exactly the same thing again. Finally, we can select all 5 of them and use our arrow keys to nudge them up or down till they're nice and centered between our top portion as well. If we scroll up to the logo up here at the top, maybe we'll zoom in. You'll notice this version of the logo are simply some grouped objects. I know they're grouped because they've got some dotted lines around their bounding box. In order to affect the content of the group, we need to be able to select just that content. You can find the Content Selection option at the top of your control panel for this icon. With it selected, now we're inside of the Content Grabber. You can navigate by clicking on the icons next to it. So if I choose the next icon, you can see how it chooses the purple portion of this. We want to change that color to be a light green. So open up your fill color and let's do green. Let's do a medium greenness. Let's choose the next one. This will be a dark green. Let's choose the next content until we get the purple, and that can also be a medium green as well too. Now that we've got it, we can choose the next content, which will go back up to our group. I'm going to do Command 0 to zoom out. Let's do something fun with this text. Let's grab our Type tool, and I'm going to highlight this partial class calendar text. Let's go up to Edit and Copy. Then we can scroll over to this curved line at the very top here. We want to be able to type along this path. So let's choose the Type on Path tool, which is hiding underneath your Type tool. Carefully click right on the line itself, then go to Edit and Paste. You can see how this pasted along the curve of that line. Now obviously it's on the wrong side, so let's open up our options. Go to the Type drop-down menu, choose Type on Path. There it is, and open the options. From here, with preview turned on, you can tell it to flip it to the other side. We'll say OK to this. Now the Type on Path tool works just like any other type tool. You can highlight your text. We can go up here and let's change the font to be Myriad Pro, bold, and the size of it can be 24 point. Let's do the same with the text on the other path. Scrolling back over, I'm going to highlight it. Let's go to Edit and Copy. Going back over here, we've got our Type on Path tool. We'll click once on it and go to Edit and Paste. Now to get rid of the lines, we can use our Selection tool, and with the object selected, simply go to the stroke setting and set it to none. Let's do the same for the other. Select it, set the stroke setting to be none as well. Finally, we can get rid of this text box by selecting it and pressing Delete. And let's bring on the other text that we had selected. We'll bring it down here. Let's choose our logo and bring it down just a bit more so it looks like it's flowing over there. And then we can put the April text on this side as well too. Now it flows nicely. And if necessary, we can hold down Shift and select everything, including the logo, and let's nudge it over so that it's nice and kind of centered up inside of that area until it looks good for you. Now the last thing we want to do is to draw some lines and that have some arrowheads to them. Let's return to that first part for our featured blossoms and let's zoom into here. To draw a line, we're going to use our Line Segment tool. With the Line tool selected, hold down the Shift key as you click on the side margin and drag to that margin. We're going to set the size of our stroke in our Properties panel to be 2 point. It'll be just a solid line. And if you click on the word stroke, this will open up the options for it. We want to be able to add a starting and an ending design to it. We'll let the starting design be just a solid square and the ending design be an opened arrow. To change the size of the arrows and the square, let's scale this square down to be 75% and let's size the arrow to be scaled up 200%. When I hit return, you can see it gets much larger. Also from here, we can click on the stroke's color. Let's set it to be a dark red. With that done, we can zoom out to see our entire spread. And to preview it, you can go down to the very bottom and choose Preview, there we are, to see what your spread looks like. As always, we need to go to File and save our document. And this InDesign document is what you'll upload to the class Canvas page.